Let's now have a look at the food safety plan, which falls under requirement 2. There has not been a lot of changes under this requirement. It remains a fundamental requirement and the statement of intent has not really changed. In the next few slides, we are going to look at the key clauses that have had amendments or additions or changes. Let's now have a look at clause 2.2, which is about prerequisite programs. There hasn't been any major changes here with the exception of the addition of sections. So basically what has happened, where the PRPs are being referenced, they have added sections where these specific PRPs belong to. There is also a new statement that has been added that reads as follows: the prerequisite programs for the particular areas of the site shall be taken into account the production risk zones as per clause 4.3.1. There is also a shall that has been added in the statement of intent that reads as follows: the control measures and monitoring procedures for the prerequisite programs shall be clearly documented and shall be included within the development and reviews of the HACCP or food safety plan. Let's now discuss the changes under clause 2.3. The changes are only on clause 2.3.2 and they are the following. The first change is the addition of the term shall, which has been added to make the following statement mandatory. The company shall ensure that the HACCP or food safety plan is based on comprehensive information sources which are referenced and available on request. Another change is that the list of reference documents that can be used to conduct hazard analysis has been updated to include the following. A copy of an existing site has a plan, which it would include, for an example, products already in production at the site, a map of the premises and equipment layout, a water distribution diagram for the site, indication of any areas or zones where high risk, high care, or ambient high care production facilities are required. Under clause 2.4, which is about identification of the intended use, there are no major changes with the exception of the word that has been added, expected. So that's the new word that has been added. The statement now reads as follows: the intended use of the product by the customer and the expected alternative uses shall be described, defining the consumer target groups, including the suitability of the product for vulnerable groups of the population. Under clause 2.6, which is about verification of the process flow diagram, the requirement has been slightly changed to read as follows. The HACCP food safety team shall verify the accuracy of the flow diagrams by an on-site audit at least annually and whenever there are changes to the process to ensure any changes have been considered as part of the HACCP or food safety plan. Let's look at clause 2.7. There hasn't been many changes there. The changes are more of modifications of the requirements rather than completely new changes. So under clause 2.72, there is now emphasis on only significant hazards when the HACCP team conducts a hazard analysis. And then under clause 2.73, there is an added statement that reads as follows: consideration may be given to using more than one control measure when the HACCP team considers control measures necessary to prevent or eliminate a food safety hazard or reduce it to an acceptable level. Then under clause 2.74, there another addition there where they've added a specific food safety hazard. So in other words, now the requirements reads as follows: where the control of a specific food safety hazard is achieved through prerequisite programs or control measures other than the critical control points, these shall be stated and the adequacy of the program to control the specific hazards validated. So those are the changes under clause 2.7. Under 2.9, there hasn't been changes or many changes at all, with the exception of 2.92, with the addition of the following open quote, including critical limits, close quote. So it has been added in the following statement: the HACCP food safety team shall validate each CCP, including critical limits. So that's the only new addition. Under 2.10, no major changes, with the exception of 2.10.2, with the addition of open quote, a suitably competent, close quote. So now the statement reads as follows: records associated with the monitoring of each CCP shall include the date, time, and result of measurement, and shall be signed by the person responsible for the monitoring and verified where appropriate by a suitably competent person and authorized person. So the suitably competent person has been added. So now let's look at clause 2.12. What are the new changes there? So under clause 2.12 in issue 8 there was only one requirement. We see that in issue 9 there are now 3 new requirements. It is important to note that the previous clause 2.12.1 is now clause 2.12.2, and the new clause 2.12.3 is a previous clause 2.14.1. Okay, so let's look at 2.12.1. What is new? So the statement now reads, instead of the previous one, 2.12.1 reads as follows: HACCP or food safety plans shall be validated prior to any changes which may affect product safety to ensure that the plan will effectively control the identified hazards before implementation. For existing HACCP or food safety plans, this may be achieved using the established processes detailed in clause 2.12.2 and clause 2.12.3. Clause 2.12.2 is a previous clause 2.12.1, so there is no change there. And then under clause 2.12.3 is a previous clause 2.14.1. The only change is a clarification of some of the changes that must be implemented, and also confirmation that any change that you make in your HACCP system must be fully documented, and the validation shall also be recorded. So that is pertaining to the review. So if you are making any you're doing your HACCP review based on these changes below, that shall be fully documented, and the validation that you have done shall also be recorded. So those are the main changes under clause 2.12.